I like Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler is one of the best two-way players in the league when healthy. And by the way, in the playoffs, he's as good as anybody. I don't think they're in the last 3 years. Give me a player that's been better than Jimmy Butler. Give me a player. Jimmy Butler is the it factor in the playoffs every year. And he's a great defender. He could defend multiple positions, and he could shut down a point guard and shut down a two any day, anytime, especially in the playoffs. And the guy's shooting ability in the playoffs he's impossible to defend. Impossible. But when he goes out on an LL Cool J podcast, and I'm just being honest, and I understand he's frustrated. I understand that Miami was eliminated in the first round, and he has something to say. Why is he throwing the Celtics under the bus? Why is he even bringing up the New York Knicks? The Knicks have never been in this position since 1999. They have a chance to go to an Eastern Conference Finals. And finally, they're in a position to win, and Jimmy's just throwing them to the Wolves. I don't understand it. Now, I like Jimmy. And I think Jimmy deserves a lot of credit for the growth. Really, since LeBron James left and Dwayne Wade retired and Chris Bosh retired, he's been everything to the Heat. Have they won a championship since then? They haven't, but they've been to the finals. And everybody wants to give Spoelstra all the credit. It has a lot to do with Jimmy Butler's play. I understand you need a good coach, but you need the players to make the plays. And Jimmy Butler is that kind of player. But when you're coming out and throwing people under the bus, and shout out to Pat Riley. I love Pat Riley. And I always loved Pat Riley. Even when he left the Knicks, I blame the New York Knicks not giving him that GM position. It was James Dolan. It was the organization deciding not to. Yeah, because he would have stayed with the Knicks. He would have been the GM for the New York Knicks. He would have given the reins to Jeff Van Gundy, which happened. Jeff Van Gundy eventually became the head coach of the team, which he was the bench coach, and Tom Thibodeau was there too on that coaching squad, and so was Stan Van Gundy. That coaching staff was fantastic, and future head coaches in the NBA. But Pat Riley wanted that GM position, and they didn't want to give it to him, so he fled over to the Heat, and he made a trade. He brought in Tim Hardaway. He built that team around Tim and Alonzo Mourning, and really started to structure that team into a championship competitive team. You have to give Pat Riley credit, because what he did for the Knicks after he left LA, he made them a championship competing team. He brought these players together. He was one of the guys, the reason, and he was there when he drafted Anthony Mason. He wanted Anthony Mason, and he wanted to turn the Knicks into that bad boys team, that new bad boy team. After Detroit was done after 90, and the Bulls beat them and then won their first championship in 91, it was really, they needed a new bad boy team. And the Knicks were that team. You bring in Charles Oakley, you traded Bill Cartwright. That was because of Pat Riley. He structured that team. And when Pat Riley left, it was never the same team. I thought Jeff Van Gundy was a great coach, but he wasn't Pat Riley. He wasn't. And those are the facts. He wasn't. But when you have guys like Jimmy Butler come out, and Jimmy Butler, he's been jumping ship. He's been on multiple teams. He left Chicago. He went to the Timberwolves. It didn't work with the Timberwolves. He was sleeping with Karl Anthony Towns' girlfriend, or whatever the hell he was doing. He wasn't getting along. And then he goes to Miami, and he's been everything to Miami. There's no question that he has been. He's been the face of the Miami Heat over the last couple of years. But he's getting older, and his body is starting, all that wear and tear, those playoff runs, it's starting to catch up to him. And when he comes out and he's taking shots at guys like Josh Hart, what did Josh Hart do to you? I mean, seriously, Josh Hart, I watched Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson's show, their podcast. It's fantastic, by the way. It's a great show. It's a great podcast. And they don't bring up Jimmy Butler at all. I've never heard them bring up Jimmy Butler. And when they did, at one point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I forget who was on the show, but it was an ex-NBA player that was on the show. They brought up Jimmy Butler, and Josh Hart said that Jimmy Butler is one of the best defensive players in the league, hands down. I've never heard Josh Hart take shots at Jimmy Butler. Why is he taking shots at him? And I don't know what this team is going to be. I don't know what the Knicks are. I don't. And anybody that thinks that they are going to be a championship team this year, I think they're a year away from being there. I think they're away a little bit. They're missing that other player. Now, I don't think Julius Randle is the other player. I don't think that other player is on this roster. That is going to be up to Leon Rose and Worldwide Wes to make that decision in the offseason. Are they going to trade those picks? Are they going to trade somebody or 2 players or maybe even draft picks with 2 or 3 players to bring in a superstar player to play with Jalen Brunson? I don't know. But what I do know is this team has heart. They're out there. They're working. They're pacing themselves. They got a superstar player. We have not seen a player like Jalen Brunson ever. I'm just being honest. Patrick Ewing was a sensational player. Bernard King was a great player for like 4 years before he hurt himself, before he hurt his knee. Walt Frazier was a great player. So was DeBusschere and Willis Reed. They were great players. They really were. And we go Stephon Marbury. We can go Carmelo. They were all good players. The Knicks have never had a player of this magnitude. A player that doesn't go out there and brag about his talents, that he's the best player, he's the best point guard. He doesn't go out there and he doesn't say those things. He just wants to prove his game on the court. That's what I love about Jalen Brunson. He's not out there to prove a point to all you fans out there that he's the best guy for the job. And the Knicks were the smart ones and everybody else was dumb, including Dallas, by the way. But what we have seen from Jalen Brunson has been absolutely amazing. It's an amazing story. And whatever happens in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to remember. Everybody remembers Linsanity. And that was like, I don't know, 2020. That was like 18 games, 19 games. That was it with Linsanity. He was gone. All right. The Knicks didn't even re-sign him.
Yeah, they let him go for $500,000.
And he signed $40 million. I think he went to the Rockets or something.
Yeah.
He got a $40 million contract because of that 19-game spurt that he had with the New York Knicks of some incredible run. This isn't 19 games. This is 2 years of this. He was up for an MVP this year. Should have been a top 3. I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense. This guy was the best guard in the Eastern Conference all season long. Might have been the best guard in the NBA all season long. The fact that he hasn't gotten any credit for that, it just doesn't make any sense. The story sells everything. But you know what? He is the best. He could go down as the greatest Knick the Knicks have ever had. Mm-hmm. He could. If he wins a championship, forget it. He is a bigger star right now than Aaron Judge. I'm going to tell you this right now. He's a bigger star than Derek Jeter was when they were a championship team. The New York Knicks have been the team of New York. I don't care what anybody says. You have the Rangers, the Giants, the Jets, the Brooklyn Nets, whatever. The Islanders, whatever. The Buffalo Bills, whatever. You want to name the New York teams, that's fine. The face of New York has been the New York Knicks. It's always been that way. And you see what the Knicks fans are doing after the games, after their wins. They're outside celebrating like they won a championship.